Hi again, everybody. Good to see you back. Well, what can you say about Melania's jacket? I mean, really? The 5-inch heels in the hurricane aftermath, and now we have the I don't care jacket. The strange thing is, of course, this is a woman who does nothing except think, what am I going to wear tomorrow? That's all she has to do. She's a clothes hanger. There's nothing else going in her life and her world but her clothes. And she chose it. I mean, if you wanted to balance the budget, really you should introduce the stupid tax. Forget taxing the rich, taxing the poor. Just a flat tax across the board, the stupid tax. Melania and Ivanka would have lots and lots to pay. Mind you, I think they both did a bit of a girly thing behind the scenes. I think they both twisted the frumpets slightly on this. Nothing has been sorted, of course, but it prompted me, because I was going to do a reading on the evil Stephen Miller, that I'll just do a quickie on Melania. I've got the Toth deck out because she really doesn't deserve anything better. That was a gobsmacker. Really bad look, Melania. Okay, so a very quick reading. Oops, what fell out? The Hierophant. So Melania. What is going on? Is it the medication she's on, or is the medication wearing off? What is going on with Melania? All right, down we come, viewers. Yes, in her past. Oh dear. And truce. Could be worse. All right. Her top card, the Toth deck, is the Hierophant. As most of you already know, the Hierophant represents the system, law and order, and all that stuff. So for her, in terms of a personal mini reading for Melania, she's operating within the system. She is now FLOTUS. So everything she does has to be viewed through the lens of the system, of being the First Lady of the United States. So in her immediate past, the Star, nice, hope and inspiration. Let me just adjust this. I suspect, my feel on this is, a little while back, I think she almost got out. There was a time a few weeks ago where it looked as if she was going to bolt, as we say in Australia, do a runner. And then she got trapped in the legal stuff because of her husband. So you can see why that's in the past. She had hope for a minute that she was going to get out from under. Then that hope was taken away. And I suspect this is one of the reasons why she's so crushed now, whether it's a health issue, physical issue, or a mental health issue. It was almost worse than before because she had the hope. Now, Ace of Wands, energy, moving forward, things happening, powerful, reversed. So, things not happening, things not moving forward, etc. All right. Her little mini outcome card, the Four of Swords. In the Toth deck, it's truce. So she may have reached some sort of truce in legal terms, or more likely an impasse. If you think about the Rider-Waite deck, the Four of Swords is retreat. And for her, she certainly lives in retreat because she's too out of it to actually function as a normal human being. So that's the one with the figure lying prone with all the swords. If she gets up, she'll be stabbed by a sword. So in this sense, it's truce, not in a good way. She's exhausted for whatever reason. I mean, she's exhausted, and I should feel more sympathy for her as an abused wife. But his reputation preceded him, did it not? You wouldn't marry Donald thinking you'd got a committed, sharing and caring life partner. So, given that she came in on the Einstein visa, which will be an ongoing joke for 2 generations, I think, poor bloody Melania. Anyway, moving on from her, Stephen Miller. Now, I've read on Stephen Miller before. I'm sure most of you would have caught it. It wasn't that long ago. I can't remember exactly. So, he's one of the most dangerous people in life, and that is a self-loathing person. So this is a man with a Jewish background who hates immigrants. It's a bit like Pence, who some would suggest is a homophobic gay man. So what happens when you're in a mindset that is the antithesis, or if you like, the opposite of your lived experience? You have to fight harder than anyone to prove your credentials. So Stephen Miller, he's behind the worst of Trump's speeches. He's behind these hideous border policies. In the absence of Steve Bannon, he is the flag carrier for this fascist crap. So Stephen Miller, he could be perhaps a self-loathing Jew and a homophobic gay man. He could be the whole deal. Ooh, wow. Okay, Stephen Miller rocks his boat. Stephen Miller. We'll have a look. Here we go. Stephen Miller. All right. Oh, night. Oh, delicious. Well, let's have a look, shall we? With Stephen Miller, his first card, the Knight of Cups. And so knights bring with them action and energy and opportunity. It's cups, it's emotion. The Knight of Cups, that's where he gets this ability to channel the emotional landscape of hate. You can say what you like, you can talk about the economy and you can talk about other things, but you don't necessarily engage the emotions. He is driven by his emotions, but his gift, for want of a better word, or his curse if you prefer, is that he can write speeches that tap into the emotions of those who hear them. So those are the speeches that whip up the base, and they're the speeches that drive liberals or Democrats or thinking, caring people to absolute despair. So he doesn't look like an emotional person, but he is driven by his early emotional world, and that is his calling card. Right. This card I love in the Toth deck, the Helicopter Knight, the Knight of Swords. It's actually all about revenge for Stephen Miller. So let me recap. For those viewers who didn't see my first reading, and this is just generally out there in social media stuff, he grew up in California, and he grew up in a very liberal atmosphere. But from very young, from early high school, he took this hardline, conservative, anti-immigrant stand, anti-Hispanics, anti-anyone in his path, despite having grandparents who escaped the war and others who didn't escape the war and stuff. So he was the crippled nerd, if you like. I think he was one of those kids who didn't get on with other kids and therefore quietly plotted his revenge. Okay, back to this reading and these cards. He then gets the Five of Swords, which in Thoth is defeat. Couldn't be happier. So, the Five of Swords, it's awkward. It's victory and defeat. So it's not quite fair in a way to just say his defeat is imminent, because he has had victories. So this is why I actually prefer working with Rider-Waite overall. So in this, however, it is defeat. Then his short-term outcome is the Eight of Cups. In Thoth, the word here, it's called indolence or laziness. Now, again, this is a beautiful image, but one of the things I would not criticize Stephen Miller for is laziness. I think he works full-time day and night on being a bastard. So that's it. But it is the Eight of Cups, which is hopes and wishes fulfilled. But again, hiving back to the Rider-Waite deck, it's the one with that merchant who I think of as a slave trader with the arms folded, open and closed. So I'm going to pull out some more here. Oh, Prince of Death. Okay, here he has two more cards. The Prince, it's kind of weird. The Prince of Discs, or the Prince of Pentacles, and the Princess of Discs, Princess of Pentacles. So let's look at them one at a time. The Prince of Discs. He's unrepentant. He will do anything until he gets fired, although even now a couple of Republicans came out saying he should be fired over these dreadful new policies. So here you have the Prince of Discs, pulled by the bull. It's very like the Chariot. See, it literally is a chariot, so it's like the Chariot card. Going forward, he is unrepentant. He doesn't care who gets trampled by the bull or the Chariot. He doesn't care. Princess of Discs. I find this card vaguely disturbing with all those sort of branches and antler-like things there. Again, if you look, the figure in the middle, i.e. Stephen Miller, he's protected himself always, I think, since childhood, by putting out these prongs to defend himself. And it makes it hard for people to get in, impossible in fact, to actually get in. So he's not affected by criticism. He loves the criticism because he's flipped it all in the brain. Like, naturally as humans, we tend to want to be liked, we tend to want to be respected, we tend to want to be included. These are normal human impulses. He doesn't have this. In fairness, I think he was very injured as a child, whether that was in the family or bullied at school or whatever. I think this was initially a very hurt child. But he's no longer 8. He's no longer 15. He's fully in charge of being the maestro of hate speech. And that card really does show it, does it not? That he has put up these defences, put it out there, and he doesn't, just like the other card, oops, doesn't care. So until he is sacked, He will continue to do this. That was the Chariot. That was the not caring about consequences. There's a very strong theme. But unlike Bannon, who had a certain raw charm, if you like, bolshy, belligerent men say what they think and call it charm, then Bannon has that. Steve Miller doesn't have a friend in the world. Steve Miller doesn't have an ally. Steve Miller doesn't have a partner as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong, viewers. Even people who work with him don't like him, don't think about him. He's sort of the ultimate non-entity who has sneaked into this profoundly important role. It's a really big role, and he's cleverly stayed under the radar. He shuns the limelight, but if he got sacked tomorrow, he's unlikely to pick up other work because he doesn't have, he's so boring to listen to. He doesn't have that raw sort of wide-eyed Hannity appeal. He doesn't have the Bannon appeal. He doesn't have any appeal. So he's going to be cactus if he loses this gig. But he can do a lot of harm in the meantime. So there you go, viewers. That's the second for today. Good luck. And look, we have to talk briefly before I go. With so much going on, it's really, really, really important to keep yourselves strong. Please, please be nice to each other and yourselves. Make sure every day you do something that makes you feel a bit better about yourself and the world. Just take a little slot each day to connect with like-minded people and to look after yourselves. Please promise me that, viewers. All right. Bye.